The Leica M9. It's a rangefinder camera, built I think around the M3, or the way the M3 looks. It's a fantastic piece of kit, and today I'm going to show you how to use it. So the first thing I thought I would do is focus. How you focus it. It's manual focus, which I feel is better actually. The one thing I love about a rangefinder camera, specifically the Leica, is the way you focus it. So you've got a little, only what I could call a finger rest underneath there. So it is manual focus, but when you put your hand, when you actually look at a subject, it's very, very instinctive and easy to focus with it. And after a bit of practice, it becomes really, really quick. Inside, as you look through the viewfinder, obviously this is a rangefinder camera, so it does not look through the lens. It looks through the little window there. Inside there you've got like a series of squares, and whichever one's highlighted is whatever lens you've got on, which is great. Inside that square there's a small rectangle, and in that small rectangle you've got a split image. So if you're out of focus, you'll have two poles there if we were looking at poles. So the idea is to get them so they're both centrally lined up. Once they're both centrally lined up, they're perfectly in focus. And I know that sounds a little bit difficult, but honestly, it might take you a while when you start with it, but when you get used to it, it is so fast. I can't say it's as fast as autofocus, but it's actually not far off. You can really quickly use the focus on this. And once, as I say, you line those up, it is perfectly sharp. Fantastic, very simple. Another tip with focusing, and I love using this if I'm doing street photography, is you don't sometimes really have to focus and look through the viewfinder. What you can do is you can select your aperture, and in this case it's a 5.6. Say your shutter speed is going to be 250th of a second, it doesn't really matter, or 125th of a second. Anything between there is going to be in focus. So all you need to do is work out what your distance is going to be. If you're walking down the street, I would probably go somewhere in the region of about 4 foot there, and on a 5.6, 4 foot, you're looking at about between 4 and 12 foot-ish, which is really good. Everything between there is going to be in focus. If you want to increase that depth of field, we'd go to f8, so it gives you more leeway. And then it's very straightforward. As you pick the camera up, press the shutter, or even not pick the camera up, you can just angle the camera and click and get a great candid snap. The M9 is really small as well, and I love that. It really fits nicely in your hand. And it's not heavy at all. My whole kit, I only usually take 2 lenses with me, so my whole kit sort of like fits into a really tiny Dungoness bag. And I love that, that's great. It's not as cumbersome as a big digital SLR kit. You haven't got to carry a huge bag on your back or on your side while you're travelling and walking. The other great thing about this is no matter where you go, and this is what these cameras were built for really, is they're so unobtrusive, I suppose is the right word. So you can photograph and get into places and photograph people where you never thought you'd be able to when you're poking a big lens at somebody. I think you'll be really shocked when you see the quality of images that come from here. It is 18 megapixel, and that is huge for me, a Leica anyway. I have a phase 1 camera which is 40 megapixel, and to be fair, there isn't much difference in the quality of the finished image between this and the phase 1, and I love the fact that it's so compact. I don't just use the M9 for street photography. I use it for everything. I use it for fashion, I use it for some commercial work, corporate portraits. I take it everywhere with me. In fact, we've just been on a recent trip down to Dungoness, and I'll show you the results that we've done from there. We sort of spent a day out there filming with the M9. Honestly, it's so versatile and so quick and easy to use. Okay, let's look at the controls. Turning the camera on, very simple. You go from an off position to single. Single just basically means that it will take one shot when you press it down. If you go to the next control there, which is continuous, that gives you continuous frames. I think it's somewhere in the range of about 2 frames a second, and then you've got timer on there. So very simple as you turn the camera on. Shutter speed is controlled by this dial. You've got a little red line there, that's for your flash sync basically. So you've got from 4,000th of a second right the way down to 8 seconds and then on to B. The bulb is just basically however long you press that down is however long the shutter is opened. Okay, so you've got plenty of scope there. There is a small bit of automation. You can turn it to A there, which is aperture priority, which means then as you're walking around, you select the aperture, it will then select the shutter speed, the relevant shutter speed for you. Okay, so that's your shutter speed. Looking at aperture again, once again, you're in control. You can manually select your aperture, your desired aperture you want. So if you want a narrow depth of field, it goes right down to f2. If you want lots of depth of field, it goes right up to f16. The shutter release button is quite nice because you've got 3 sort of settings on it. It's quite difficult to feel at the start, but the first one down activates the light meter. The second stage, there's just a little, you can just feel it, will hold the exposure. There, can you see? Just that bit extra pressure. You can hold the exposure, but then you can reframe, and then you can actually, the third press down will give you the exposure. Will open the shutter. So you've got stage 1, which activates the meter. Stage 2, which is just a little click further, will hold the exposure so you can reframe, and then as you fully press, it will take a photograph. So that's a nice little feature, I think. Okay, let's take a look at the back of the camera. So if you want to review what you've just taken, just press play. Your image comes up, gives you your basic details. There's a cursor here that will move up and down. Basically, to look at other images, you go left and right. If you want to zoom in, you just turn the wheel one way, then use your cursor to go up and down. If you want to zoom out, just turn the other way. You want to look at quite a few more, see what else is on there, you just keep turning that way. So it's very simple. If you want to delete an image, click on delete. Use the set button to either delete single, use the cursor to delete all. If you want to change your ISO, just press your ISO, hold the button down, turn the dial, you can change your ISO. Info just gives you how much battery life you've got left, SD card, remaining images. Into the menu system. One of the things I do want to talk about is lens detection. At the moment it's set to auto. Use the right cursor, click on set. It goes from auto to manual. This allows you to select the lens. One of the things that is different with this system is, if you've got a new lens, you'll have a 6-bit encoding somewhere on there and it matches up to there. Now if you've got the newer type lenses, great, you can leave it on auto and it will detect what lens you've put on there. If like me you haven't, and you've got a lot of older lenses, you have to actually manually select the lens yourself. And as I say, all you do to do that is click on set button, go into manual, click the set again, and then you've got a choice of whatever lens you want to put on there. They do work very, very well. If you don't manually select them, with some of the wider angles, you will see a difference. You'll see a bit of cayenne vignetting. So it's important that you know where that is and how to manually select. Okay, if we look at the set button, it's got a few more functions there. You've got white balance, If you click set again, it goes into tungsten using your dial, fluorescent. I personally like to go to the Kelvin range because it's a bit more accurate. But auto is very, very good, I have to say. I've never found a problem using auto. It's very, very good. But if you want to change, that's how you do it. I'll leave it on auto for now. Whether you want to put compression on your DNG files or not is entirely up to you. Resolution, exposure, compensation. You can add a bit of compensation if you want on there. You can bracket in and you can set a user profile there. So very straightforward. Okay. Into the menu system itself. Again, we're from lens detection. If you go to advanced, which is really interesting, you can actually change the way the shutter sounds. So from here, if you go to discrete, click on discrete, you can take a shot, very, very slight sound. When you release, you can turn away, then when you release, it winds on. So it's great for if you're taking a shot and you don't want anybody to know, you can just take the shot, keep your finger on the button, and when you're ready to walk away, and then the release. So that's great, really. Quite like that. There's a couple of other settings in there, but it's there for you to experiment. Okay, let's look underneath the camera. This is where the battery goes and your card goes. There's a little clip there. If you can see that. I've left the camera on, so it does tell you, warning that your cover's taken off, so just turn your camera off. Inside, very straightforward. If you turn that, push that white button to the side, that's the battery. That's where the battery goes, very straightforward and simple. Press it back in and it locks into position, and that's where your card goes. SD card. I've got an 8 gig one in there at the moment. Just press that in and then it's all enclosed. If you don't want to open this regarding getting your images off your camera, in other words taking your card out, putting them into a card reader, there's a little USB connection here. You can open that, fit your cable into there, and you can download your images from there. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is this lever. What this lever is there for is selecting different frames inside the viewfinder. What it does, it highlights different frames inside the viewfinder. So I guess it's there just in case you're not sure which lens to put on. You can just check the different frames inside. So that's a brief overview of the Leica M9. I think what's left to do now is go out and use it and show you the results. As I say, the results are phenomenal. So let's go out and use it. After a great day out at Dungoness, here are some of the results. Had a brilliant day, loved working with the Leica M9, even more so loved working with the Leica lenses, they're absolutely phenomenal. Zeiss as well, the Zeiss lenses, I own a couple of Zeiss lenses and I have to say they're equally as good in my opinion. So what a great day out, and here's some of the results. Some are straight from the camera, which is phenomenal. The colour saturation, contrast, colours, everything are absolutely spot on. And then here's a couple in black and white. I'll go portrait, but can you see? That's good, I like that.